Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Red Tool House. I'm Troy. We've just had a really nice heavy rain actually, so it's a little foggy, a little damp. Kind of feels like a tropical rainforest around here right now. Humidity is ridiculous. Anyway, well, in this video I want to talk about gray market tractors. Should we beware of gray market tractors? You know, you think about homesteaders. We always, if we're in the market for a tractor, we usually want to find a good deal on a used one. There's a lot of used tractors out there. You can still find some tractors that run well, but they may be 20, 30, 40 years old plus. So should we watch out for gray market tractors? Well, obviously the first question we ought to address is, what exactly is a gray market tractor? Well, quite simply, gray market tractors are import tractors. Usually it's import brands. So you think about Kubota, you think about Yanmar, you think about Mitsubishi. Those are usually the biggest, the ones that are gray market. Those tractors, of course, are manufactured out of country. Kubota is manufactured in Japan. Yanmar, I think, is Japan. Mitsubishi, I'm not sure where Mitsubishi is manufactured. Maybe Japan as well. But they have a certain model, certain style of tractor that they import into North America. And of course they have certain styles and models of tractors that they either leave in their native country or they export elsewhere. Gray market tractors are tractors that are not originally planned to be sent to North America, but a third-party import company is taking those tractors and importing them in and selling them. Well, in 1997, Kubota asked the government, the U.S. government, to intercede and say, hey, you know, it's really damaging our brand. All of our tractors that are for other countries are coming into the United States. It's really affecting our sales and our profitability in the United States. So they got Congress to be able to pass a law that says it's illegal to import tractors that aren't manufactured for the United States. So Kubota got a big win there. They were able to stop the importing of gray market tractors, but that didn't necessarily do it. And of course, there was already a lot of gray market tractors out there. So shortly after that law passed, Kubota did a big press release. They did a big push to try to get people, to scare people away from gray market tractors. In fact, I've got this article I pulled up from KubotaUSA.com. This is from their website. And I won't read the whole article. They talk about some of the concerns with the gray market tractors. And what's interesting is, if you read this, it really seems like Kubota is really going to take legal action against anybody that is dealing in gray market tractors. And they could really have a legal battle on their hands there. In this article, Kubota talks about how these gray market tractors are actually unsafe. Kubota lists some of the things that make that tractor unsafe. It doesn't have ROPS, rollover protection. It doesn't have a seat belt. It doesn't have an override clutch or overrun clutch on the PTO. It has much skinnier rice paddy tires that may not be suited for terrain that you'd have in the United States. You can't get an owner's manual. You can't, everything's in Japanese. You can't read all that. So they really did a big push to say, these things you got to stay away from. They're dangerous and they're illegal. Well, what's interesting, that all happened in '97. In 2000, I actually bought a gray market tractor. It was the first tractor I'd ever owned. I didn't know anything about it. I knew I wanted a Kubota tractor and was looking for something used. Well, I didn't have a lot of money. So in looking around, I found this old L1801. And I thought, oh, it's a Kubota. It's a small one. It was like 22 horse or something like that, 23 horse, somewhere around in there. Little 3-cylinder. And I thought, well, this really isn't, this is a good deal. I think it was $3,000 for this 4-wheel drive Kubota. And I thought, man, this thing runs great. I'm going to get this. So I bought the tractor. The guy that I bought it off of didn't say anything about it being gray market. Never discussed it. So I get it back, and I want to start putting some new accessories, new parts and everything. So I go to my local Kubota dealer and say, hey, I'd like to get X, whatever it was, oil filter or something for my L1801. And he's like, that's a gray market tractor. You're not supposed to have that. I'm like, what? I don't even know what that means. Yeah, those are illegal. Illegal to own? Those are illegal. And he didn't want to sell me any parts. Again, this was just 3 years after the law had passed. Kubota had done a really good job of shutting all that down. So I kind of felt like a criminal. I thought, oh my goodness, I've bought an illegal vehicle, a legal tractor that I'm not supposed to have. What am I going to do? Well, actually, I used the tractor. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. It's not like the tractor police are going to show up anytime soon. But I used the tractor and used it for a couple years and got the use out of it I needed to. Now, it was unsafe in the sense that it did not have ROPS. It did not have a override clutch on the PTO, but you could buy one. I bought an aftermarket. It just goes right on the PTO shaft, and before your actual implement shaft is hooked up, it's just this device. It just looks like a big clutch, and it does exactly what it's supposed to. But it did have the rice paddy tires and a very skinny wheelbase, and there's times on these West Virginia hills that I'd find myself in a precarious situation, and that thing would want to get a little top heavy, especially with my 200-pound frame sitting on top of it. Get a little top heavy, and you're like, yeah, this probably isn't the best thing for me. Well, as with all tractors, you tend to outgrow them, or you realize, hey, I'd like to have a bigger one. So when the time came for me to look at getting a bigger tractor, I obviously wanted to sell this one. Well, I knew I couldn't take it and trade it in. Nobody, in my mind, had been so poisoned against gray market that, well, I can't trade this thing in. There's no way. So I advertised it, and I didn't advertise it as a gray market tractor in my ad bulletin and all those type of things, the paper that I ran it in. But when guys came to look at it, I told them, this is a gray market tractor. Buy this at your own risk. And a couple guys did walk away from it. They didn't want anything to do with it. But the third guy said, nope, I want it. I've read all about it. It's no big deal. I want it. So I ended up selling it back to him. I actually got my money back. I got my $3,000 back. So I was able to pass on that gray market tractor with full disclosure to the buyer. Well, what's interesting about this whole concept of gray market tractors is, especially when it comes to Kubota, is there was a lot of misinformation, and Kubota did a good job as a corporation to really spook people about these tractors that were being imported illegally after 1997. Obviously, before 1997, it wasn't illegal to import them. So there's really nothing wrong with the tractors. Granted, some stuff may be in Chinese. That's what always cracked me up. Some of the instruction plates on the side of the tractor were in Chinese. And again, those rice paddy tires were something to look at. Man, some deep lugs. I could climb, that thing would literally climb a tree if you didn't watch it, because it would just, with those lugs on those tires, man, it could go anywhere. But it really wasn't unsafe any more than it just didn't have some of the safety equipment. So Kubota was really doing a good job, and some of the other companies, I'm just isolating Kubota simply because that was my experience. The Yanmar and Mitsubishi, I don't know, I really haven't run into a lot of details there with gray market. But what's interesting, there's a forum, and that forum is called orangetractortalks.com, and I'll leave a link below in the description so you can reference this article yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it breaks down 10 myths about gray market tractors. And I'll hit some of the high points. The first myth, of course, was that gray market tractors are illegal to own. No, they are not illegal to own. You can own a gray market tractor even today. It's not illegal. It's illegal to import them. If you're not importing it, then you're fine. If you happen to buy one used, you find a great deal like I did in the ad bulletin or on Facebook or whatever, go for it. It's not illegal to have that tractor. One of the other myths, of course, was they are dangerous. Well, again, they're not any more dangerous than an old 8N or an old tricycle tractor from John Deere that doesn't have roll bar, all those type of things. You can look at it and know, okay, that tractor doesn't have these safety features. It's less safe than maybe one that would, but it's not inherently dangerous because it's a gray market tractor. It's not going to make it any more dangerous. Another myth was you can't get parts for gray market tractors, and that's untrue as well. Even though, in my experience, 3 years after that law passed and the local Kubota dealer didn't want to have anything to do with that, that was his choice. I found out later that those turkeys can get any of those parts in. In fact, my L1801, there was a North American equivalent of that tractor. It was a B something, B5200, whatever. I don't even remember, it's been so long ago. But there was an equivalent, and those parts were interchangeable. So the guy could have sold me that. So it may have been ignorance on his part that he didn't realize, or he may have gotten spooked so badly from Kubota saying, don't sell parts for these, we need to shut this stuff down, that he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Well, another myth was that owning a gray market tractor was a total hassle. And yeah, maybe that's not necessarily a myth. There could be some legitimacy to that. Again, you've got to find the conversions. In my experience with a Kubota, everything was in Chinese. With a Yanmar and Mitsubishi, you're probably going to have the same situation. Now, I don't know about Mahindra. I've never seen a gray market Coyote. I don't know about some of these newer manufacturers, if they're dealing with gray market, if they have to deal with that, again, because of the law in '97. I don't know if that encompassed all the manufacturers and not just Kubota. But to say it was a hassle owning one, maybe a little bit, just simply because you had to do the conversion. If you're going in to say, well, I need parts for an L1801, but it's really a B52 whatever, then you just have to know that, and you have to have a parts dealer that's going to play with you. But now with the internet, my goodness, you can get on there and order any of that stuff. So what's interesting about the gray market tractors, they usually are less expensive because they are indeed what they are. They're a gray market tractor. So it's not illegal to buy one, it's not illegal to own one, and it's not illegal to sell one as long as you're not importing it, or maybe exporting for that matter as well. So if you're looking on the internet, you're looking at Facebook pages, you're looking at old farmers and they've got some of these tractors that you look up the model numbers and you're not quite sure, just look over the tractor for soundness. Don't disqualify it simply because it could be a gray market tractor. It's still going to be a quality tractor as far as how it got into the United States goes. Now, it could be a piece of junk, just like anything that was intended to be here could be a piece of junk. But check that out. Go to KubotaUSA.com if you're looking at Kubota gray markets, and it'll list all the models that are gray markets. It'll list all the models that are not gray market tractors. So again, if you're looking to buy a used tractor, look at that model number and reference it. Same with the other manufacturers that are dealing with gray market issues. Check it out, but don't run away from a gray market tractor simply because it's a gray market tractor. Check it out. You may be able to save a lot of money in that situation. Well, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com, and also check out our website, redtoolhouse.com, and be sure to sign up for our e-newsletter down at the bottom. All right, take care, everybody.